When you wake up in the morning, your scalp has been under pressure for 6 to 8 hours. It's been compressed against a pillow. Circulation has slowed down, and the tiny muscles connected to each hair follicle have been inactive. That's one of the main reasons your hair looks flat, uneven, or lifeless. First thing in the morning, most people immediately assume they need heat to fix it. But the real issue isn't styling, it's circulation. Your scalp is living tissue. Underneath the surface, you have a network of capillaries delivering oxygen and nutrients directly to the hair follicles. Each follicle depends on steady blood flow to maintain strength, thickness, and growth. When circulation slows, the roots don't receive optimal support. The hair may appear dull, weak at the base, or lacking volume. So before you think about styling the hair shaft, you want to activate the scalp itself. The simplest way to do that is with a fingertip massage. Not your nails, not aggressive rubbing, and not quick scratching. You want controlled, firm, but gentle pressure using the pads of your fingers. Place your fingertips on your scalp and move the skin in small circular motions. You're not just sliding your fingers through the hair. You're actually moving the scalp tissue over the skull. That movement stimulates blood vessels and encourages fresh circulation. Within seconds of starting, something interesting happens. Blood begins to rush toward the surface. You may feel slight warmth or tingling. That's oxygen delivery increasing. When oxygen rises, cellular activity improves. Hair follicles are metabolically active structures. They respond to better blood flow by functioning more efficiently. Even short-term stimulation can create visible lift because of the arrector pili muscles attached to each follicle. These tiny muscles respond to stimulation and subtly elevate the hair shaft, which gives the appearance of natural volume at the roots. This is why flipping your head forward during the massage can amplify the effect. When you bend forward, gravity assists circulation toward the scalp. Now you're combining mechanical stimulation with improved blood flow dynamics. In less than 30 seconds, you've shifted your scalp from a compressed, low circulation state to an activated, energized state. Another important factor is lymphatic movement. The scalp has lymphatic vessels responsible for clearing metabolic waste and excess fluid. Overnight, mild stagnation can occur. Gentle massage supports lymphatic drainage. When waste products are cleared efficiently, the scalp environment becomes healthier. A healthier scalp supports stronger hair structure over time. Stress also plays a role in morning hair appearance. Cortisol levels are naturally higher in the morning. If you wake up and immediately rush, grab your phone, or start multitasking, stress hormones spike even more. Stress constricts blood vessels. Constricted vessels reduce circulation to peripheral tissues like the scalp. A calm, intentional scalp massage counteracts that response. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair mode. Blood vessels relax. Circulation improves. The follicles receive better nourishment. Many people focus only on external products, but you have to understand that hair quality starts below the surface. The visible strand is already dead keratin protein. It can't repair itself. The living part is the follicle embedded in the scalp. When you improve scalp health, you influence the next phase of hair growth. Even if you're not thinking long-term, the short-term cosmetic improvement from increased circulation is noticeable. Roots lift more naturally. Hair separates more easily. The crown area gains subtle fullness without teasing or heat. Technique matters. Start at the front hairline and slowly work your way back toward the crown. Then move to the sides above the ears. Finally, cover the back near the base of the skull. Spend about 5 to 10 seconds in each zone. Keep your breathing slow and steady. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. This reinforces nervous system relaxation while you stimulate the scalp. If you tend to have oily roots, massage helps redistribute sebum. Sebum is your natural oil produced by sebaceous glands. Overnight, it can accumulate at the scalp surface. Mechanical movement spreads it slightly along the hair shaft, reducing the heavy appearance at the roots. If your scalp is dry, improved circulation supports better nutrient delivery, which can help regulate oil production over time. There's also a structural reason this adds volume. When hair lies flat for hours, hydrogen bonds within the hair shaft set in that flattened pattern. While water resets hydrogen bonds more dramatically, simple mechanical lift combined with improved root elevation disrupts that compressed pattern just enough to change the shape at the base. That subtle shift makes the hair appear more responsive and less stiff. Consistency enhances results. One massage improves immediate appearance. Repeating it daily supports long-term scalp resilience. Follicles thrive in environments with steady blood flow and low inflammation. Gentle stimulation does not cause damage when done properly. In fact, excessive tension from tight hairstyles and frequent heat styling can reduce circulation over time. This simple 2-minute habit moves you in the opposite direction. If you notice slight redness after massaging, that's normal. It indicates increased circulation. What you don't want is soreness or scratching. Keep pressure moderate. Think of it as mobilizing the tissue, not attacking it. Your goal is activation, not irritation. People often underestimate how responsive the scalp is. It's highly vascular. It reacts quickly to touch, temperature, and stress. By intentionally stimulating it each morning, you're resetting the biological environment before styling even begins. Instead of forcing volume with hot air, you're encouraging natural lift from the root level. The beauty of this approach is simplicity. No tools, no electricity, no chemical sprays, just your hands and 30 focused seconds. In that short window, you increase oxygen delivery, assist lymphatic flow, gently redistribute natural oils, activate follicle supporting muscles, and calm the stress response that tightens blood vessels. All of those internal changes reflect externally as improved texture and fullness. When you wake up in the morning, your hair is usually in a slightly dehydrated and electrically charged state. During the night, friction from your pillowcase creates static. At the same time, moisture slowly evaporates from the hair shaft. Even if the room isn't dry, your hair loses a small amount of hydration over several hours. That combination of moisture loss and static buildup is what causes frizz flyaways, and that dull, rough texture you see in the mirror. Most people try to fix this by applying heavy styling products or using heat tools to force the hair into place. But the real issue is cuticle imbalance. Each strand of hair is covered in tiny overlapping layers called cuticles. When the cuticle lies flat, hair looks smooth and shiny because light reflects evenly off the surface. When the cuticle is raised or uneven, light scatters and the hair appears dry or frizzy. So the goal in the morning is not to cook the hair into submission. It's to gently smooth the cuticle layer. A small amount of cool water is often enough to reset that surface, not soaking the entire head, not drenching the roots, just lightly dampening the ends and mid-lengths with your hands. Cool water helps flatten the cuticle because temperature influences the way the outer layer responds. Warm or hot water can temporarily swell the hair shaft. Cool water encourages the outer layers to lie flatter against the strand. There's a scientific reason behind this. Hair is primarily composed of keratin protein arranged in long chains. Within those chains are hydrogen bonds that influence shape and flexibility. Water interacts with hydrogen bonds. When you lightly introduce moisture, you temporarily loosen some of those bonds. That allows the hair to relax out of its overnight compressed pattern. As it air dries in its natural position, the hydrogen bonds reform in a smoother configuration. Too much water saturates the hair and causes swelling. Swelling lifts the cuticle and increases frizz once it dries. Too little water may not disrupt static, so you want just enough to lightly hydrate the surface. When you rub a few drops between your palms and gently press them over the ends, you're providing a micro reset. It's subtle but effective. Static electricity is another major factor in morning hair problems. During sleep, friction transfers electrons between surfaces. Hair strands repel each other when they carry similar charges. That's why you see flyaways that seem to float or separate unpredictably. A touch of moisture helps neutralize static by increasing conductivity. Water molecules allow charges to dissipate rather than accumulate. Instantly, strands behave more cooperatively. Humidity plays a role as well. If you live in a dry environment, hair loses moisture more quickly. If you live in a humid environment, hair may absorb excess moisture from the air and swell unevenly. By lightly hydrating your hair in a controlled way, you create balance before stepping into the day's conditions. Balanced hair is less reactive to environmental changes. Balanced hair is less reactive to environmental changes. Another benefit of light moisture application is improved flexibility. Dry hair is more brittle. When hair lacks adequate hydration, it becomes rigid and prone to breakage during brushing or styling. Even a small amount of water increases elasticity temporarily. Elastic hair bends more easily without snapping. That reduces mechanical damage during your morning routine. Technique matters here as well. Instead of splashing water directly onto your head, place a small amount in your palms. Rub your hands together so the water spreads evenly. T. Pen gently press your hands over the outer layer of your hair. Focus mainly on the areas that appear frizzy or dry. Avoid overwetting the roots because the scalp already produces natural oils that regulate that area. Some people find that using filtered water makes a difference. Hard water contains minerals like calcium and magnesium that can leave residue on the hair shaft. Residue can interfere with smooth cuticle alignment. If you live in an area with hard water, even rinsing your hands with filtered or bottled water for this quick reset may produce better shine. Breathing and pace also influence the outcome. When you rush, you tend to over-apply water or handle the hair aggressively. Slow, deliberate movements keep the cuticle aligned. Hair responds better to gentle pressure than to rapid friction. Think of smoothing fabric rather than scrubbing a surface. There's also a neurological component. When you apply cool water to your hands and touch your hair, you stimulate sensory receptors in the skin. Cool sensation can slightly increase alertness while also calming inflammation. The scalp and hairline contain nerve endings that respond to temperature. Gentle cool contact may help reduce mild overnight puffiness around the hairline. If your hair tends to be wavy or curly, light moisture can reactivate natural curl patterns without heat. Curly hair, especially, depends on water balance. When dehydrated, curls lose definition and expand outward. A small amount of water encourages curl grouping as the strands reclump naturally. Definition improves without styling tools. If your hair is straight, moisture reduces static separation and enhances sleekness. Straight strands reflect light best when aligned. Flattening the cuticle with cool water increases that mirror-like effect. Shine is not about oiliness, it's about surface smoothness. When the outer layer is even, light bounces uniformly. Over time, minimizing heat exposure protects the integrity of keratin proteins. Heat repeatedly breaks down internal bonds and depletes moisture content. By choosing moisture balance over high temperature styling, you reduce long-term dryness and split ends. Hair maintains better tensile strength when it's not constantly dehydrated by hot air or plates. You may notice that after lightly dampening and allowing the hair to air settle, it feels softer within minutes. That softness reflects improved hydration at the surface level. It doesn't require expensive serums or complex formulas. It simply requires understanding how hair structure responds to water. The important principle is control. You're not soaking the hair, you're guiding it back to equilibrium by lightly restoring moisture, neutralizing static, relaxing hydrogen bonds, and encouraging cuticle alignment. In T, you correct the primary causes of morning frizz and dullness using the simplest element available. After you've stimulated the scalp and lightly restored moisture to the hair, the final step is sealing and separating. This is where most people make a major mistake. They either apply too much product or skip this step entirely. When you overload the hair with creams or serums, you weigh it down. When you skip sealing, moisture escapes and frizz returns within hours. The key is precision. One small drop of natural oil is enough. Even when the cuticle lies flat, there are microscopic gaps along the shaft After lightly dampening the hair, some moisture sits on the surface and slightly within the outer layer. If you leave it unsealed, environmental factors like dry air or wind will pull that moisture back out. When moisture leaves too quickly, the cuticle lifts again. That's when hair becomes rough and loses definition. A tiny amount of natural oil acts as a barrier. Not a heavy coating, just a micro layer that slows water loss. Think of it as locking hydration inside the strand. Oils like argan, jojoba, or coconut have different molecular structures, but they all create a protective film when applied correctly. The mistake people make is using too much. You only need a single drop rubbed thoroughly between your palms until it almost disappears. Hen. You rub the oil between your hands. Friction warms it slightly. Warm oil spreads more evenly. If you place oil directly onto one section of hair, you create clumps and uneven shine. But when it's distributed across your palms first, you can gently press it onto the outer layer of your hair without concentrating it in one spot. The motion should be light, pressing and gliding, not squeezing or pulling. Focus primarily on the mid-lengths and ends. The ends of your hair are the oldest part of the strand. They've been exposed to the most washing, brushing, sun exposure, and environmental stress. They naturally lose moisture faster than the roots. By sealing the ends, you prevent splitting and roughness from becoming more noticeable throughout the day. There's also a structural reason oil improves appearance so quickly. When light hits the surface of your hair, it reflects based on smoothness. Oil fills in microscopic irregularities along the cuticle. Even a thin layer increases uniformity. That uniform surface reflects light more evenly, creating natural shine without stiffness. After sealing, flip your head forward again and gently shake your hair out using your fingers. This is not aggressive fluffing. It's controlled separation. During sleep, strands cluster together due to pressure and static. Even after moisture balance and oil sealing, some E-strands may still cling. Gentle finger separation encourages airflow between sections, increasing natural volume. When you flip your head forward, gravity works in your favor. The roots lift away from the scalp. As you lightly shake and separate with your fingers, you create space between strands. Space equals volume. Heat tools create volume by forcing shape change. Separation creates volume by allowing strands to occupy their own space naturally. Another benefit of this movement is redistribution of oil. If you accidentally applied slightly more oil to one area, gentle shaking helps diffuse it evenly. The result is balanced shine rather than patches of heaviness, because you use such a small amount to begin with. The hair feels light instead of greasy. This step also prevents overstyling. When people see uneven sections, they tend to grab a brush and repeatedly drag it through the hair. Excess brushing can cause mechanical stress, especially when hair is slightly damp. Using your fingers instead reduces tension. Fingers are flexible and adjust to resistance, whereas brushes apply uniform force. Gentle tactile stimulation of the scalp and hair activates sensory nerves. That feedback loop reinforces relaxation and reduces unconscious tension in the jaw and shoulders. Tension often leads to tight hairstyles or excessive pull. In G, when your body relaxes, you handle your hair more gently. If your hair is naturally wavy, sealing and separating enhances wave definition. The oil keeps the outer layer smooth, while finger separation encourages waves to form distinct groupings. If your hair is straight, separation prevents it from lying in flat sheets. Straight hair benefits greatly from root lift combined with minimal product. So, environmental protection is another factor. Throughout the day, your hair encounters wind, dry indoor air, and temperature changes. The micro seal from oil reduces moisture exchange between the hair and environment. That means less expansion in humidity and less shrinkage in dryness. Stability leads to consistent appearance from morning to evening. Quality matters more than quantity. Choose simple, pure oils without heavy additives. Many commercial serums contain silicones that coat the hair thickly. While they can create shine, they sometimes build up over time. Natural oils used sparingly are lighter and easier to wash out. The goal is enhancement, not dependency. Over time, consistent sealing protects the cuticle from abrasion. When cuticles remain smoother day after day, strands tangle less. Less tangling means less breakage during brushing. Reduced breakage makes hair appear thicker because fewer strands snap prematurely. Thickness is often a reflection of retention rather than new growth. The shaking motion also reorients hair according to its natural growth pattern. Instead of forcing apart or flattening one side, you allow strands to fall where they are biologically inclined to settle. Natural alignment often looks more balanced than artificial shaping. What makes this step powerful is restraint. One drop of oil, gentle pressing, controlled separation. You're not layering products or manipulating texture aggressively. You're supporting what's already there. By sealing moisture, smoothing the cuticle, redistributing natural oils, creating space between strands, and allowing gravity-assisted lift, you enhance volume and definition without heat or damage.